So Zach, second half got away from Baylor in a big way. The Bears actually led Arizona 17-14 at the half. And what was the final?
41-17, Arizona.
Yeah.
Arizona scored 27 unanswered points in the second half. This is the second game in a row after that Utah loss last week where Baylor just kind of implodes in the second half and self-inflicted mistakes. I know we've been talking about complimentary football all season, and it just wasn't there in the second half. It's kind of there in the first half, and this one just kind of felt the same as Utah, right? Like Baylor didn't really have much of a hope in the second half, and it wasn't just the defense. Yes, they were getting gashed, but the offense was kind of stalling. Sawyer was throwing interceptions. Bryson had a fumble. So, I mean, really, it was all phases that kind of let them down. I can't really put this only on Dave Aranda, only on the defense. It's all around bad in the second half.
Yeah, no doubt. At some point, as players, you have to step up and make plays, and there's only so much the coaches can do. Obviously, Aranda's taking his share of criticism, but the players need to own their share of it too. And yeah, it was god awful in the second half. You know, we've we've lobbed so many grenades at the defense over the course of the year, but man, this offense, as many weapons as it has, and as good as it has been at times, um, wow, talk about turnover prone. That's been to me the biggest issue.
And it wasn't, and that wasn't like we got so used to Sawyer and Bryson just not turning the ball over. And like every once in a while, like you understand maybe you're pressing a little bit, but like that interception that Sawyer threw that they returned for a pick six was one of the laziest passes that I've seen Sawyer throw. And like lazy and Sawyer-Robertson is not, that's not something we've really ever said. And so, yeah, it's kind of confounding why. And I think some of it is they're pressing a little bit, they're behind the sticks, they need to get points, you know, and so I think some of it is that, but there's I think many other reasons. I think that they whether they say it or not, it's hard for me to not believe that the results and the way they're losing and the record overall based on expectations is not getting to them.
Oh yeah.
That post-game press conference, we had Sawyer and DJ-Coleman, but that was the most dejected I have ever seen Sawyer-Robertson. And he was
Mm,
just so like he had been crushed, and obviously they were crushed,
right.
like he has done a pretty good job of like still being able like coming to those press conferences and being like, I believe in this team, and a lot of it was the same, but he said it in with a positive, an upswing in his voice, and he was truly just devastated after this loss, more so than I've ever seen him. And I think the season is really getting to them, and that they'll never say that, but that's just my read on everything.
Yeah, and I don't know how it couldn't get to him. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily be human if if you didn't start to feel like, oh no, here we go again. That kind of feeling, doubt creeping in. And so yeah, I get it. Well, let's and excuse me if I blow my nose a couple times. I think I'm getting allergic to bad football, and I'm not even out in Tucson, but um like you are. Um so big picture wise, obviously we had a big eventful week. We didn't get a chance to do a you were traveling, we didn't get a chance to do a podcast earlier in the week, so we might as well discuss some of it now. Mack Rhoades out as athletic director, Dave Aranda coming back as football coach. To the chagrin of a lot of the fan base. Obviously, there's been a lot of um, outrage,
Right, right.
but to me, it kind of makes complete sense in terms of, you know, you don't necessarily want to be hiring a football coach while you're also trying to hire an athletic director. And if once you hire an AD, if you were to have to hire a football coach, then you'd kind of be late in the cycle. So I guess my question to you is this. So you got a chance to talk to Aranda after today's game. I mean, what was just kind of his, you'll have a story about it, but what was kind of his reaction to, you know, another year at Baylor?
Well, I mean, like many things about Dave Aranda, he appreciates it. Um,
Right.
but I think he does know that, I mean, he needs to win. And one of the things that also really stood out to me when I asked him about, what the support or what that meant to him was, he said that he has to open up a little bit more. And whether that's to um, just the fan base or the athletic department or the team, like he needs to be more of an open book than he is. And I think that's another thing that we're seeing with Aranda. He was kind of a year late to NIL. He was kind of a year late to the transfer portal. He was kind of a year late to, I don't know, bring in an offensive coordinator and maybe take something off his plate in a way. And so is this just him being a year late to realizing that there's more to being a head coach than calling defensive plays? I don't know. But I think it was appreciative that he got the support, but he does know it comes down to results. And if he doesn't get results, at some point, you think, yeah, you're a nice guy, but you do have to get a results. And at some point, it's going to cost him his job.
To me, and this seems like a high output, but I would say 9 or 3 or better next year is what keeps him around for another year after that in 27. Like I I just feel like with a new AD coming in, you not only are you gonna have to win,
Right.
you're gonna have to win at a high enough level to get people excited again, and to show that, okay, now we're making some progress, and so I would say 9 or 3 or better, and that's a tall ask,
Well, and you got the same schedule like Auburn. They're going to have a new coach, and you're going to play that game in Atlanta. And SMU's still going to be good next year. They're probably going to have Kevin Jennings back. Their coach is staying for all we know. And so, like, your opening gauntlet to the season is still an opening gauntlet to the season. And you don't avoid Tech, you don't avoid BYU next year.
Right.
So this schedule, I think, is much harder next year. And so that's even taller of a task. And so I think that it's going to take 9-3 is a high bar, but you're right. That's probably what it takes because not only does Dave Aranda have to win, he has to win over the new AD because a lot of times the AD wants to bring in their guy for their own reasons, which is fair. And Mack and Dave had a special relationship, and yeah, so it's going to take a lot for Dave Aranda to stick around past last year.
And not only does he have to win over an AD, but I think he has to win over a Baylor fan base that has sort of revolted, at least a chunk of them. And here's what I'll say: I'm not telling you how to think, how to feel, Baylor fans. I will say, Art Briles is not walking through that door. I know there's a lot of people that have not gotten over that. Stop living in 2013. That ship has sailed. It's never going to happen again. It never should happen again. So move on. But I do understand that there are a portion of the fan base that just wants somebody other than Aranda. And so, yeah, we'll see if that happens. I will say if if next season starts going like this season has, they need to pull the plug early enough in the cycle to identify their guy, maybe get a recruiting class together in time, all of those things. It needs to happen in the season.
But at that point, they'll have an AD in place who will,
Right.
and I think that, this is a bit of hindsight at this point, but like if Mack isn't forced to take his leave of absence and isn't then eventually gone, I think Aranda is, because Linda Livingstone has to make a decision for all of Baylor. And it's not just
Right.
the athletics department, it's the music department, the history department, all of it. You have to weigh the financials of all of it. Whereas
Yeah.
if Mack were here, or athletic director, whoever, they're making that decision. That's not on Linda. Linda's making this decision. She has to take all of Baylor into account, not just the athletic department. So I think if Mack were still here, Dave Aranda would not be.
I agree. I completely agree. So, that benefited Dave,
Yeah, right. Okay.
which is ironic because I also think that Mack's presence in the past has saved Dave. So, yeah, Dave is in a spot. He's in a big time spot, and you're right. 2026, he's going to have to start winning.
Yeah. Okay.
If he wants to be around for 2027, for sure.
But I do think, back to this season, to wrap it all up, I do think, I still think that this senior class wants to go out to a bowl game. And
yes,
Houston is no joke, and we'll talk about more Houston next week. But certainly, I don't think that this team wants to end the season like these last two games have gone. I think Houston is an important inflection point for this roster and this the program, really.
Yeah, and I think they're going to have to do it all on their own. I don't think you're going to get a lot of crowd support. It's Thanksgiving weekend anyway, but beyond that, I think there's no excitement. So yeah, you're going to have to go out and do it. But is that Houston win winnable? I think we would say yes. However, the way they've played the last couple of weeks doesn't inspire a lot of confidence.
And I'm not going to get Michael Trigg to talk in the third person to me next week, so I'm not picking Baylor. So,
yeah, I got that pick on you. All right, well, have a safe trip home. Thanks for making the trip out there, and at least you got some hikes in, right?
Oh yeah, it was Tucson's good. I like Tucson a lot. Hiking is good and food is good. It's expensive, but it's really good, and the campus is beautiful. But yeah, so it was a good trip. Other than seeing some bad football, it was a really good trip.
Yeah, good deal. All right, well, appreciate it. See y'all.